Hi friends, welcome to Bookish Bliss, our virtual book club. Every week we will dig into a section of chapters in our favorite books. Let's get started!
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 26 of Bookish Bliss. We have a lot to discuss today.
Yes, this week we are covering chapters 10 through 18 of A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. There will be no spoilers beyond the covered chapters. You don't have to read the whole book to listen. You just have to be caught up on the chapters we're covering. Amanda, little sicky poo, what are you drinking today?
I am drinking water. As you can probably tell, I'm a little nasally, sicky girl. So just LaCroix today. I'm drinking lemon. Hopefully that helps with my nasalness.
Yeah, I love it.
What about you, Megan? What are you drinking?
I am drinking water out of my Stanley again this week. A rough week for me as well, so
Yes.
just sticking to the water.
Shall we cheers?
Yes, cheers to episode 26.
Woo!
Woo!
Cheers.
That nice
Oh,
cold
yeah.
water feels great.
Thank God. We need the cold water today.
We need the hydration.
Yes. Let's get started with the good stuff and break down ACOSF Part II. Over to you, Meg. Please summarize this set of chapters for us.
All right. Who's excited for the summaries this week? I am.
Me.
Later on the episode, we'll be digging a little deeper into the plot section, but for right now, here's some cute little summaries. Chapter 10. The house and Nesta are bonding. They even treated her to a not Cassian-approved chocolate cake. Nesta attempts the stairs again, but ends up falling pretty hard. She refuses to train at Windhaven again, and Cassian is starting to give up hope that she will even try. Chapter 11. This chapter had me in my feels when an all-out battle between Nesta and Cassian ensued in the dining room while they were eating dinner. Even Azrael lets out a long, slow breath after Cassian tells Nesta that everyone fucking hates her. But Nesta is adamant that she will not train at the Windhaven camp. Favor comes up to the House of Wind and tries to comfort Cassian, and Cassian comes up with a brilliant new plan for Nesta's training. Chapter 12. Cassian's oh-so-brilliant idea is that he will have Nesta train on the training mats at the top of the House of Wind instead of at Windhaven. They make a bargain and she agrees to train with him. Nesta felt like all the breathing exercises they were doing were helpful in clearing her head. Has Cassian finally found the outlet Nesta needs in order to uphold her end of the ultimatum?
Oh, I love Cassian.
Chapter 13. It's a library shift chapter, and Nesta has another interaction with Gwen. This time, the priestess is panicked because she obtained a wrong book for the high priestess she is working for, and will give her a tongue lashing if she gets the book wrong. Nesta does her good deed of the year, and without asking for assistance, she switches the books for Gwen so that Gwen won't get in trouble. Are we seeing a new and improved side of Nesta?
I think so.
Chapter 14. Cassian was worried when Nesta was late to training, but as he heard her grunting and cursing up the stairway, he realized she was too sore to move quickly enough to make it on time. Cassian and Reese have a little quick chit-chat with Eris in the spring court, and Rhysand is looking pretty distracted these days. Chapter 15. Nesta is having a really bad feeling about the darkness in the library below level 6. Gwen comes and brings Nesta away from the darkness, and she says she can feel like something is watching them. Nesta does some more training, and then her and Cassian have another spat after trying to have a normal conversation, and I really feel like they just need to give in already to each other.
Same. I agree.
Chapter 16. Nesta, we learn, does not like abdominal workouts. Same girl, same. Nesta
Same.
learns more about the blood rite and why there are no female Illyrian warriors, and she asks if Cassian would train the priestesses in the library if they agree. Cassian thinks that this is a great idea, and he really likes it. Chapter 17. Nesta puts her sign-up sheet to train with her down in the library once she receives Clotho's permission. But the sign-up sheet is getting no love, and Nesta is worried that no one is going to sign up. Nesta and Elaine get into a spat, and Cassian is like, WTF, has your progress gone? Chapter 18. Nesta in her fury climbs down to step 1000 before having to turn around and come back up, where Cassian was still waiting for her. More bickering, but this chapter and section ends with Nesta planting a big smooch on Cassian's mouth to shut him up.
Thanks for that, Megan. Ending right on a juicy, juicy part.
You're welcome.
Great summaries. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. And now I can't wait to see you catch us up on all our characters.
Yes. So I'm going to start with our main man, Cassian. He's teasing Nesta at the beginning of this section, taking bites out of her cake, but is also trying to get her to do a simple disarming maneuver. He tells her he can teach her to make anything a weapon, even a fork.
Yeah, he can.
Cassian and Feyre have a chat about Nesta. They both think she hates them. They both tell each other that Nesta doesn't hate them, and Feyre tells a story of her childhood with Nesta. Her mother only had interest in Nesta and ignored Feyre. The two of them were always at each other's throats. That's just the way it's always been, and it's just a big, tangled mess.
At this point, I think the only person Nesta actually hates is herself.
Yeah, literally.
And maybe Rhysand.
Yeah, and Rhysand. Cassian makes a bargain with Nesta. If she trains for an hour, he will owe her a favor of any size she wishes. They have matching tattoos on their backs, and they have a moment when he takes his shirt off. They actually have a few moments in this section. They're definitely bonding.
For sure.
And thus, training begins. Wiggling toes, breathing in balance, Nesta trains for another hour and tells Cassian that one's on the house. So all they needed to do really was break the ice, and she's ready now. She's ready to go. Because the next day, she shows up again, on her own, without another bargain, ready to work.
Thank God. Yes. Thank the cauldron and the mother.
He really needed the mother and the cauldron for that one.
He really did.
Cassian tells Nesta the story of his mother, how she was shunned for bearing a child out of wedlock and forced to give birth to him alone in a tent. He was 3 when he was thrown out into the snow, and she became prey for monsters. She died alone while he was at Windhaven, not strong enough to help her. None of them were. And he, continues with the whole story that we already know.
Yeah, so sad
still. So sad still. But they're, learning each other's backgrounds now, getting a better understanding of each other.
Oh my God.
Things are heating up.
Crazy.
On to our main female character, Nesta. She falls down the stairs at the House of Wind and catches herself, but notices sparks. The rock was glowing as if lit with an inner flame.
Whoa.
Interesting. Interessante, I should say.
Interessante indeed.
Yes. She realizes from this fall that if she were human, she would have been dead. Her fae body was her best chance at survival. So she's gaining more appreciation for her new form.
Yeah, she's using what she's got now.
Exactly, yeah. You got to make the best of it. I mean, there's no going back to your human body now.
No, definitely not.
No. She is still refusing to train at this point in the section. Cassian even begs her and says please, but she couldn't get up off the rock, and he didn't talk to her for the rest of the day because of it. She tells Cassian she is not training in that miserable village, which gives Cassian an idea. Light bulb.
Light bulb.
To make matters worse, Gwen had apparently told the priestesses that Nesta was their errand girl.
Oh, Gwen.
Oh, Gwen. Nesta has a moment to herself where she is wet, thinking about Cassian and pleasures herself thinking of him a few times in one night. Oh, and Cassian was pumping hard, too. 3 times.
I don't read these notes before you say them. That just took me off guard.
Good. I love that. I love the surprise effect. I don't read your summaries either.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yep, she definitely did that. She was definitely getting some work done.
Yeah. How can she? She's probably so exhausted, but you got to do what you got to do.
Sometimes you just got to close your eyes and let your hand wander.
When your lady pots are calling, you must answer. And apparently your male pots, because Cassian did too.
I'm crying.
After talking to Cassian, Nesta had the idea to train non-Illyrian females. She thought the females in the library could benefit from training with Cassian mentally and physically. She asked Clotho, and she agreed to put up a sign-up sheet. Nesta checked every day, sometimes twice a day at the beginning and end of her shift, and no one had signed up yet. But Cassian told her to keep reaching out her hand.
Oh, shoot.
Amron Jr.
Full circle moment.
Full circle moment, literally. I love that though. As Megan has mentioned in her summaries, Nesta makes it to stair 1,000. Woohoo! Now she has to go back up 1,000
Woo!
steps.
Yeah. Sounds horrible.
Sounds horrible. And at the very end of this section, like literally the last sentence, we get a kiss initiated by Nesta. Thanks, Megan, for stopping there. Just gives me
Evil
a,
plotting.
yeah, just gives me more of a reason to pick up the book as soon as we're done.
Exactly.
It'll get edited, sometime soon.
Yeah. It'll all get done. It always does.
It always does.
Will.
It always does. All right. On to Gwen. Gwen is stressed. Meryl wants a specific book and she brought her the wrong one. And when she went to retrieve the right one, it was gone. She ran into Nesta to see if she knew where the book was, and she was surprised Nesta was shelving books by hand. Later in their conversation, she tells Nesta that she doesn't like to speak ill of any of her sisters, but Meryl is quite unpleasant to everyone. And Gwen doesn't like to make any mistakes.
No, she does not.
I wouldn't either.
She's very like type A, but kind of
Yeah.
still neurotic at the same time.
Yeah, she's probably so much harder on herself when she makes a mistake than anybody would be. So if Meryl's gonna bitch her out, imagine how she feels for herself when she makes a mistake, even though it's so innocent and so stupid. But
I know.
I'm the same way. I hate making mistakes.
Yeah, same.
Nesta does come to the rescue, though, and finds the book with the House of Wind's help and delivers it to Meryl sneakily so that Meryl never knew that Gwen even made a mistake.
Aww.
I knew this friendship was forming.
It's forming.
We learn that Gwen was one of the surviving priestesses from Hybern's attack on Sangrava to find the feet of the cauldron, where his deadliest and cruelest warriors had slaughtered most of them for sport and raped the ones they found to their liking. We knew they were all a little traumatized and recovering there from some kind of trauma in their lives, but we know of the story. It happened in what, ACOSF?
Could have. I think ACOSF. Yeah.
ACOSF. Yeah. I love the little connections between all the books.
Yeah,
still.
the clues and the pieces all just start falling together.
Book 5, and we're still hearing things that I'm like, oh, that happened in book 2.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. We have a little interaction with Meryl here, so I added her to our character section.
She's so fun.
I know. Although Meryl was extremely unpleasant, Nesta describes her as stunningly beautiful. She even puts more to shame, apparently.
Ooh.
She looked as young as Nesta and was basically a genius. Meryl had previously been researching the existence of different realms. There were philosophers who believed there were 11 to 26 different realms overlapping each other, but separated by time and many other things. But now she was researching the Valkyries, which I'll get into later in the world building section.
Very interesting that was what she was researching.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be real important.
Yeah.
Especially since we have all these dominating females in the story. So.
I mean, I think both parts of what she was researching are important.
True. Very true. The history of the Valkyries was mostly oral, so any accounts that they had were what philosophers wrote down over the years. There was no primary sources, so Meryl was compiling it all into one volume, all of the known history and training technique. We learned that Tamlin is staying in his beast form within the Spring Court. Rhys had been trying to bring Tamlin back for a while, but he wasn't getting any better. Interesting little wolf boy running around.
Right? I know. It's crazy how he's just fully stuck in his beast form.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to take him out of it? I don't know.
I don't know. Sounds a little Beauty and the Beast to me.
I know. They say the first book is supposed to be a loose retelling, but it kind of just seems like we're actually moving into this new kind of curse that Tamlin's put on himself, being trapped in his beast form. The Spring Manor is in despair.
Yeah, not doing good over there on
broken.
The borders.
Yeah.
We meet another priestess, Riven. Well, we don't actually meet her, but she was frightened by Nesta and Gwen and scurried off. And only Riven, Clotho, and the High Lord know what happened to her, and she will not speak of it. I feel as if we're learning this for a specific reason, which is why I included it.
Mm,
She must have been through some really tough trauma if she won't even talk to any of her sisters about it.
yeah.
So,
And it's been a long time, too.
yeah. Elaine visits Nesta, and it does not go well.
Nope.
Nesta is still pissed at her for moving her stuff out of her apartment behind her back. She was also bothered by the bond that Elaine and Feyre had. It was like a slap in the face when Elaine said to her, Feyre warned me this might happen.
Fighting
Probably the worst thing
words.
she could have said to her.
Literally fighting words.
Yep. Elaine wraps up our character section, so I'm going to jump right into the world building section. We're going to start with the post war unrest. Asriel tells Cassian that Vassa was right to suspect something deadly amiss. Things are so dangerous there that it would be safer for Asriel to winnow back and forth. Reese's idea, protective bastard. And we're talking about him going to the human lands
Yes.
and staying there.
Not allowed.
Yeah, too dangerous for him to stay there. Aerys will delay his father, Baron, from allying with Breolin, but only for a few months, not forever. He suggests Asriel hurry the fuck up and find out what Breolin wants and why, and discover whether Koshi is indeed involved. At best, they stop them all. At worst, they'll have proof of conflict and at least gain some allies on their side.
Yes, that will be very important if they need to
Yeah.
start gathering allies again so quickly after the war with Highburn.
I know, which I'm sure will be tough because everyone's still recovering.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to go back into war right away.
Yeah, it's like the King of Highburn is dead, but kind of the conflict that he awoke in the people on the continent, other Fae territories are still there. So really, like the threat isn't fully gone. You just have one big player gone.
Exactly, yeah. And I feel like it's almost turning from Hybern's people to the humans that are kind of ruffling feathers here.
Yeah, like what is going
So,
on in the continent?
yeah. Can't wait to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
We do get probably like a half a page of description of their new tattoos, Nesta and Cassian, but I'm just going to go real quick here and say it's 8-pointed star with sharp black on black lines right down their spines.
Yep.
They have them in the same exact spot,
Yep.
same exact size,
Yep.
matching tats for the bargain.
Yep. So crazy.
I can only imagine what she is going to ask Cassian to do.
She hasn't called it in yet.
No, I don't think she will for a while.
We'll see.
I wonder if Cassian thinks about that every day.
Yeah, right? He's like, is she going to make me do something today, a part of this bargain?
Yeah. All right, now, the Valkyries were a clan of female warriors from another territory. They weren't a race, though, like the Illyrians. They hailed from every type of fae, recruited from birth or early childhood, and they went through 3 stages of training: novice, blade, and Valkyrie. To become one was the highest honor in their land. But they're gone now. The war 500 years ago wiped out most of them, and the rest grew elderly and died from the shame of the lost battle and surviving when their sisters had not. They may be gone, air quotes, but I feel as if they're going to come back.
I have a good feeling about that too. So, if you remember at the beginning of this book, part 1 is called Novice.
Oh, good fucking catch, Megan.
Yep.
Wow.
I was just like, wait a second. And then I'm like, I need to look really quick. And yeah,
Wow.
part 1 is called Novice.
So they are coming back.
So I wonder if part 2 is going to be called Blade. I don't know.
I know.
We'll have to wait and find out.
I hate waiting.
I hate waiting.
Next, Nesta senses a darkness at the bottom of the library, even though Braxis never returned. Gwen tells Nesta that it's not following, but it's like a cat, small and clever and curious. It's watching them. Where have we heard that before? A darkness watching them, aka more in her secret estate.
I know, but there's so much more to what I think, especially with the use of a cat. But obviously, I cannot say anything because Amanda is not caught up on the other 2 book series.
Yeah, don't tell me.
I won't. But to people
To
who,
me, that seemed like almost witchy.
but
Cat witch.
yeah, but to the people who have read the other series, DM me directly, not Amanda, because I need to know if you're thinking the same thing I'm thinking about this darkness and the cat.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even look on Bookish Bliss anymore, even at the comments, because I'm so nervous that something crazy is going to be ruined for me. So, no worries if you DM Bookish Bliss, or you can DM Megan directly, whatever you would wish.
Yes,
But
but if it's social,
I'm protecting
yeah.
myself.
So if you've ever interacted with us on social media, it's me. So Amanda
It's Megan.
doesn't get
Yeah.
any spoilers.
I usually interact from my real page
Yeah.
so that I know I'm not going to see anything, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
They say the being down in the bottom of the library basement is gone, but Gwen thinks some piece of it still might linger, or at the least, alter the darkness itself. Interessante. Nesta and Gwen's friendship is just
Blossoming.
taking off, blossoming. Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's blossoming.
Blossoming.
Nesta tells Gwen that she was Cauldron Maid, and Gwen didn't know such a thing was possible. She explained how she and Elaine were forced into the cauldron and turned high fae. The cauldron imparted herself in her. Gwen tells Nesta to keep to the upper floors. She doesn't wish to learn what might come crawling out of the darkness if Nesta, Cauldron Maid, was afraid of it, especially if it was drawn to her.
Yeah. Gwen says like calls to like.
Like calls to like. So, more clues about what that darkness is going to be.
Yeah.
We get some information about the invoking stone. Gwen tells Nesta about it, and it's similar to the siphon of the Illyrians, except that the power of the mother flows through it. They cannot use it for harm, only for healing and protection, and it was actually shielding them when they were getting out from the lower library levels, scared of that darkness. Nesta asks why she doesn't wear the stone on her head like the others, and Gwen said she doesn't deserve to.
Poor Gwen.
Poor Gwen.
She totally deserves to.
Yeah. But I feel like that's just going to be another thing that they bond over, you know? They're very insecure. Is that the word?
They have a lot of problems.
Yeah. They're going to work through their trauma together.
Yeah.
We get an interesting little tidbit from Cassian as he's explaining to Nesta all of the gods that he has thrown into the prison. So I thought it'd just be fun to go through that here.
Before you do that, do you think it's him trying to showboat a little bit? Like, look at what I've done, and I got this scar from here, and I'm so strong, and I trapped this one, and I'm so smart. To Nesta?
Probably. I think he's just enjoying that she's interested in asking questions. So he's going to, of course, have to like puff his feathers a little.
Yeah, I know. She's actually paying attention to me for once. I need to tell her everything.
And probably make it as interesting as possible so that he keeps her attention.
Poor Cassie. Oh, freaking Nesta. Pain in the ass.
I know.
I'll protect her, but damn, she sucks sometimes.
Yeah, I know. So, the creatures that were imprisoned by Cassian were known as the first gods. Almost no physical form, but a keen, vicious intelligence. Humans and Fae were prey. Some of them were caught by Cassian were the Lanthus could turn into wind and rip the air from your lungs, or turn into rain and drown you on dry land. He could peel your skin from your body with a few movements. When Cassian faced him, he was a swirling mist. He fathered a race of fairies known as the Bog. Hey, we know what those are.
Yeah, that's why I was scared of them the most on Nakatar.
Another connection back to book 1. I love it. If there was such a thing as evil incarnate, it's him. He had no mercy. It was him and everyone else. He feeds on fear and pain as much as flesh itself. Cassian bet him that he couldn't escape from a mirror bound with ashwood. He did get out of the mirror, but by that time, Cassian had dumped it in the prison. He outsmarted him.
What a loser.
What a loser. You dumb.
You're a dumb. You got tricked into a mirror.
And he comes out and he's like, fuck.
He's like, oh, what the heck?
Outsmarted.
Yeah. Well played.
Next, we have the 7-headed Lubia, who surface from the caves of the deep ocean to prey on girls along the western coast.
What a bitch.
Yeah, why females only? These fucking
Lame.
stupid creatures.
Leave us alone.
Next, we have the blue anise that had cobalt skin, iron claws like Lubia, and liked to prey on girls. But Anise took her time and was more like Lanthus in that regard. Ugh. And there were
Crazy.
many more. Nessa didn't want to know, though. She was already going to have trouble sleeping that night.
Yeah. Nesta is literally like half cauldron, and she's like, I can't hear about monsters.
Yeah. Ugh. That must be her Nesta half.
Yeah. Her Nesta half is scared.
Yeah, the cauldron half is like, ha 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 ha, I made you.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I want to play with those other monsters.
With those other monsters. So, I included this in world building. I know we know what the sacred mountain symbol of the Night Court already is, but we get some additional information about it and the blood rite in this section. So, I'm just going to quickly go over that. I know I'm going to butcher these names, especially with my nasally ass voice today. So, just bear with me. The blood rite takes place when the three holy stars, Arctos, Carnth, and Orestes, shine above the mountain for 1 week a year. Where you are when it ends sorts you into 3 echelons of warriors, named after the 3 holy stars. Arctosian, the ones that don't make it to the mountain but survive. Orestian, the ones that make it to the mountain but don't reach the top. And Carthian, the one who scaled the summit and are considered elite warriors.
Yeah, that's crazy. And there's not many of them.
No, I think Cassian says there's only like a dozen of them that actually made it to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And they do this every single year. So,
yeah.
the elite.
And of course, Cassian is one of them.
Of course. So is Reese and Asriel, though, because they win together.
Yes.
And on to our favorite section. Fast magic. Fast magic. My nasally ass voice, I'm still singing.
You still got it. You still got it.
We love you, bookish blood. Most of this section today is about the House of Wind and helping Nesta. So I'm going to enjoy this section a little bit more than normal.
Yeah.
Because I love their bonding relationship.
Me too.
Her in the house.
Obsessed. Obsessed with the house.
Obsessed. Yes. All right. So let's just get this started. The House of Wind is at it again, taking care of Nesta by lighting a fire, then putting it out when she says no, heated her bed, and warmed the air too. She thanked the house. They are friends. Nesta sees sparks and makes rock glow with inner flame when she catches herself after tumbling down the stairs. Reese still had the impenetrable shield on Feyre. He was still learning how it works, and she still couldn't figure out how to get it off. Even her scent was shielded.
Interesting.
Sounds like a little Tammy do nothing method, but I'm going to keep my mouth closed for now on that. Tattoos appeared on Cassian and Nesta when the bargain is made. Her power made it more intense and more demanding. Nesta could feel the difference when she corrected her breathing during Cassian's lesson. Power rippled down her arms and her body. The windows in the priestesses' dormitories were glamored so you couldn't see them from the mountainside. Only the High Lord and now Nesta knew of them. Nesta asked the house to find her the book that Gwen needed, and the house actually found it for her.
I know. That was so cool.
Yeah. The House of Wind continues to take care of Nesta. After a long day of training, sorting books, and climbing stairs, it had dinner, a book, and a bath with lavender and rosemary oils ready for her.
That's
That
nice.
sounds so nice. I need to get me some lavender and rosemary oils.
I need a house
That'll
that
make me
does
feel
things
better.
for me.
Yeah, same. The House of Wind pulled some books for Nesta, and when Nesta asked for dinner, it opened the door to the hall for her, forcing her to dine with Cassian. Nesta brought a book home for the house. When she told the house it was for them, it vanished. And in the morning, there was a bouquet of flowers on her desk.
I love it.
I know. Nesta's eyes changed to silver fire while she's arguing with Elaine.
Mm-hmm.
And last but not least, Cassian says fire to the house, and the fire becomes lit. And that's all I have for fast magic.
I love
Very fast.
fast magic.
Me too, especially when it has to do with the House of Wind.
Oh my god, obsessed. The House of Wind is like the new Alice.
Yeah, literally. Oh my God. You're so right. It makes me
Hmm.
love it even more.
Yeah.
But that is all I have for world building. So, Megan, I'm going to let you take us back to chapter 10 and let's talk about the plot.
All right. Before we go back to chapter 10, let's take a little sippy sip because I got a
Yes, I def
lot to
need it.
say. Chapter 10. The house is keeping Nesta well fed. Speaking of our love for the house and Nesta, it gave her a third helping of soup and it also gave her a slice of double chocolate cake.
Yum.
The cake was not Cassian approved as he appeared behind her, but Cassian does tell Nesta to eat it up. Cassian wants to know why she's eating in the private library, and Nesta says, "Isn't it obvious?" And Cassian says, "The only thing that is obvious was that you were just talking to yourself." And Nesta's like, "What? I'm talking to the house, which is a step up from talking to you since the house doesn't talk back." Cassian knows that he walked right into that one.
The house kind of does talk back to her, though.
I know.
Gotta
And
say.
just no voices, but it does
Yeah.
subtle things so Nesta knows what it wants and wants her to
Yeah.
do.
No attitude, no voice, just returns the gestures.
Yeah. Cassian doesn't talk to the house. The house is enchanted. And Nesta said she hasn't used any witchcraft to make the house do anything for her. That's not what Cassian meant, but he's like, "Fine, the house likes you. Congratulations." Cassian starts eating Nesta's cake, and if she had just started training with him, then she could have stopped him. That her threats would be more impressive if she could back them up, which is very true.
Yeah.
Nesta reads an erotic romance novel in the library until she was tired and she went to bed without changing out of her clothes. When she woke up cold, she took off her fighting leathers and was shivering beneath the sheets. The house tried to put on a fire for her, but she refused. So instead, the house warmed her sheets and heated the room without fire. Oh, I
Oh,
know. It loves
thank you,
Nesta.
Housey.
Yeah. Nesta has a nightmare about Elaine being stolen by Highburn and her father's neck being snapped. Nesta felt her power trying to come out of her, and she had to suppress it by telling it had just been a dream and to go away. Nesta
Mm-hmm.
feels like she needs a drink and a pleasure tavern ASAP.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of doing that, or she's going to try to go to a pleasure tavern, she goes to the door to the steps, and the door was already opened as if the house is like, "All right, go ahead, go try."
Yeah.
And she starts to descend them, and she continues to think about her nightmare and all of her trauma. Nesta gets nauseous and she went to grab for the wall, but it was too late and she started to fall. She flung out a hand and sparks exploded and she cried and held on. She was beat up from this fall, but she was scared because there in the stone glowed an inner flame from the sparks that had come from her hand. There was a handprint etched into the wall, which scared her, and she ran back up the steps. It's very interesting. That's why
Very.
her power, I think she's just a ticking time bomb. She's just gonna explode at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely showing us, especially in this section, anytime she has emotion, like here she's experiencing fear, she
Mm-hmm.
uses her power
Mm-hmm.
unconsciously. Then later with Elaine, you see the eyes.
Yep.
So
It's
it's definitely coming out.
it's gonna come out.
Yeah.
At training the next day, she was just sitting there again when Cassian starts to taunt her about her beat up body. He says Cassian hadn't said anything to her at breakfast, and neither had Moore. That a fall as a human would have most likely killed her, like Amanda said earlier. And Cassian
Hmm.
says, "Who won the fight?" And she's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And Cassian's like, "Oh, the fight you had between yourself and the stairs."
And this is my notable line for chapter 10, page 121. Cassian says, "You know, 3 a.m, you leave your room to get shit-faced drunk in town, and you're in such a rush to conquer the steps that you fall down a good 30 of them before you stop yourself." Nesta says, "How do you know that?" And he shrugged. She said, "Are you watching me? You were watching and didn't come help?" Cassian says, "You stopped falling. If you kept at it, someone would have eventually come to catch you before you hit the bottom."
I can't.
Let's be honest, though. If she fell even probably 10 more steps, he would have been there.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have been waiting at the bottom for her to tumble down.
No, he knows that you were falling down the steps, Nesta, because he was already having a panic attack that you weren't going to stop yourself.
Yeah, literally.
Oh. Cassian wants to know if Nesta wants to join him in training today, and Nesta says she should have pushed him down the stairs instead. Just, I can't with them. Cassian says that she could claim those bruises from training and not be such a lame-o by those bruises being from her falling down steps on the stairs. Cassian wants to know how many steps she made it to this time. It was only 66, but she doesn't tell him the number. She says she is not training. There were other warriors watching him with envy, but now we're mocking him because Nesta wouldn't train. Last year, she would have gone after them for insulting Cassian, but now she is just holding her ground. She is not going to give
Yeah.
in and train at Windhaven. Cassian goes so far as to holding out his hand to her and says please, which shocks Nesta. She had never heard him use please before, and he
Mhm.
was willing to meet her halfway, but she just couldn't bring herself up to go to him.
Mhm.
Nesta talks about how beautiful Cassian is, and then she notes the light in his eyes dimmed and he dropped his hand and says tomorrow then, and then he didn't speak to her for the rest of the day.
Not off to a good start.
They're really not. They're really not. We need a turning point here.
Yes.
Chapter 11. Nesta wanted to eat again in the private library, but the house said no, even when she asks nicely. Nesta went into the dining room where Cassian and Azrael were having dinner. Cassie and Azrael continue their conversation about Az being gone, and like Amanda said earlier, he doesn't know how long he's going to be gone, but apparently Vasa was right that something deadly was amiss, that he will keep his base at the House of Wind and winnow back and forth. Nesta doesn't like what Vasa had said to her about her father, so she's kind of reminiscing on her interaction, or her one and only interaction, with Vasa at the end of ACOWAR. Reese is the one that wants Az to go back and forth, and that's when Cassian calls Reese a protective bastard. Azrael wants to know what happened to Nesta, as he can see the bruises still on her, and Nesta says nothing, but Cassian tattles on her and says that she fell down the stairs. Azrael tries to push Nesta on why she's not training, but all she says is that she won't train in that miserable village.
Light bulb.
Yeah, not yet, but it should have been, because she
Yeah.
doesn't say to Azrael that she won't train, period.
Right.
She says, I won't train in that miserable village.
Yeah.
But Cassian, he's fed up at this point with Nesta's BS and says that Nesta's been given an order and she knows the consequences if she doesn't get off her rock and train. And what happens to her will be out of his hands. So again, this is not the best way to approach a conversation with Nesta. I think going
No.
the question route, like Azrael was going, was probably a little bit better of an approach, but
Yeah, more gentle.
Cassian's had it.
Nesta's like the person that you have to be like, do not touch the button. Do not touch the button. And she touches it anyway,
Yeah.
kind of person.
Yeah.
You have to like trick her into not
Touching the button. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nesta says, so you'll tattle on me to your precious High Lord? Big, tough warrior needs oh so powerful Rhysand to fight his battles. And Cassian cannot deal with anyone talking badly about Rhys or even using a tone about Rhys. And so he obviously swears at Nesta and says, don't you fucking talk about Rhys with that tone. Which is,
Ooh.
I feel like, a tad bit dramatic. Like, let's not pivot away from what the actual problem is here. Let's focus on why Nesta isn't training. But anywho, that's just my opinion.
I feel like that was what she was trying to do.
Yeah.
Was to like get him off of her case and onto something else.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
So it kind of works.
Yeah, she's redirecting him somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and Cassian falls for it.
Yep.
Nesta calls Rhys an arrogant, preening asshole. Azrael was sitting there mad, but didn't say anything, but Cassian loses his shit and says that it's bullshit what she's spewing. Nesta says she hates Rhys, which Cassian says, good, he hates you too. But in my opinion, he goes a little bit too far when he adds on, everyone fucking hates you. Is that what you want? Because congratulations, it happened.
Yeah.
And Azrael
he definitely goes a little too far.
It's because, one, it's a lie, and just like unnecessary. Him saying like Rhys hates you too, fine. That's true. Like, Rhys is not Nesta's number one fan. He's not number 2, 3, 4, or 5. But
Yeah.
to go so far as to say everyone fucking hates you, like that's just a slap in the face and meant to
Yeah.
be like a dig. And I just think Cassian is better than that. So it
Yeah.
just was a little disappointing to me. But again,
I think his
Stan.
pride was a little hurt that she wouldn't train, especially in front of the people at Windhaven. You know,
Yeah.
he's supposed to be this like big bad warrior general
Yeah.
of the army, and he can't even get this little bitch to fucking get off the rock. So
No.
he's probably a little sore in that subject, but he definitely went too far.
Yeah, no,
Should not
for
have said
sure. He
that.
has every reason to be extremely frustrated with Nesta
Yeah.
at this point. But yeah, that comment I just think was a little unnecessary. Like, even Azriel was like, oof, that
Yeah.
was a bit too far when he lets out that
Yeah.
long, long breath.
Yes. And this is my notable line for chapter 11, page 127. Nesta says, "And I suppose now you'll tell me that you're the only person who doesn't hate me and I'm supposed to feel something like gratitude and agree to train with you." She says, "Does that mean that you're done panting over me as well? Because what a relief that would be to know you finally taken the hint." She just keeps going here. And Cassian says, "Now I'll tell you, I'm done. You want to rip yourself apart? Go right ahead. Implode all you like. The training was supposed to help you, not punish you. I don't know why you don't fucking get that."
And all Nesta says back to that is, I'm not training in that miserable village.
Here's the light bulb.
Oh, he's not listening to her. I mean, she's not being very direct, but I mean, I guess she
Yeah.
kind of is. She's saying, I won't train here. She didn't say, I won't train with you. I hate you.
Yeah.
Cassian leaves the room and she bares her teeth at poor Azriel, but he's just looking at her as if he could see right through her to her bruised heart, which I actually think he can. And I think that's
Yeah.
why he kept his mouth shut and didn't say anything during this interaction, because we know that Azriel has no problem stepping in and sticking up for people who he loves. We saw it at
Yeah.
the High Lords meeting, and I think that he would have no problem saying to Nesta to shut the fuck up. But I think he doesn't, because he can actually see her intentions and what's going on with her.
Yeah. For sure.
Nesta couldn't bear him doing that, staring at her and seeing into her bruised heart, so she went back to the library. Cassian is sitting on the flat of the mountain, which overlooks the training ring. Keep reaching out your hand, Cassian thinks, is bullshit. Feyre comes and sits down next to him and says, "You're not the brooding type." And Reese said that Cassian was thinking loudly, so she came up here to see what was happening. We learn, like Amanda said earlier, that Reese still has a shield on Feyre, and Feyre says that Reese is a pain in the ass, especially now with the Queens, Baron, and Koshi, and she still hasn't figured out how to break it yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's like some weird foreplay. I don't know. Just kidding.
Yeah. But also, if it's impenetrable, why do you want to break it? You want to figure out if it can be broken? Or you just, I don't know. Like, what's the point of even doing the shield to her?
I know, but it's weird because they bump shoulders and he was able to do that to her, but at the end, when he tries to kiss her cheek, he can't. The shield stops him.
Yeah.
So it's weird what rules the shield has.
Right. Impenetrable by shoulder bump.
Yes. Well, they bump shoulders.
Or penetrable, actually.
Yeah, he can shoulder bump her, and Cassian makes a sad comment on how it was probably because a childhood spent with the lack of precious contact, that any sort of contact when he's upset is comforting to him.
Yeah.
Feyre asks how bad it's going with Nesta, and he says that it's bad. She's not training, but she is going to the library. Feyre wants to know if she said why she won't train, and Cassian says because she hates him, and Feyre's like, no. Nesta definitely does not hate you, Cassian.
No.
Cassian reminds Feyre that Nesta doesn't hate her either, but Feyre doesn't seem to agree because of their past. She thought during the war it was getting better, but no. Which is so funny because Nesta thinks the exact same way.
Yeah.
Ugh, sisters.
Sisters, just talk it out and shut up.
Yeah. Cassian says it's only been 3 days and he's already at his wit's end. Cassian says that maybe the library will be enough, but Feyre says no because she can hide in the library. The library is supposed to be a balance for the training. And it finally clicks what Nesta was saying about not training in that miserable village. Cassian tries to kiss Feyre's cheek, but the shield stops him, and he's like, let me see if my new plan will work.
Yes.
Which brings us to chapter 12. Cassian informs Nesta that they will not be going to Windhaven today. They will be trading here at the House of Winds. Cassian tells her that Mor went back to Valahan and Rhys and Feyre were unable to winnow them up to Windhaven, so they will have to make
Good
do
excuse.
here. I know, it's brilliant. Nesta had said she wouldn't train in that miserable village, but she never said she wouldn't train, period. Cassian says that he will make a bargain with her. If she trains for 1 hour with him, then he will give her whatever she wants. Nesta thinks Cassian is an idiot for making such a bargain with her, but after much contemplation, she agrees. They end up with matching tattoos on their back, like Amanda explained earlier. Nesta is devouring Cassian with her eyes while he checks out his new tattoo on his back.
I would too.
Yep. Nesta can't believe that she made a bargain with Cassian, but this area was secluded and no one would be able to see her make a fool of herself, so she really had nothing to lose. So, ding, 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 here is the root
Yes.
of the problem. Ugh.
Communication would have solved that 3 days ago, but
Yeah.
we're here, we're happy.
We're making progress. That's all that matters.
Exactly.
Nesta wants to know if she would be training with swords, and Cassian says no. Today she'll be learning how to balance and breathe through stretching and wiggling her toes.
I'm gonna try that.
Yeah. Even
I'm gonna
though
just wiggle my toes while we're doing this and see if I gain some balancing.
Yeah. Keep your feet planted on the ground and wiggle them around.
Yeah.
Even though these were basic movements, she was sweating. Cassian was tough on her, but walked her through how to do the steps and squats correctly. Cassian tells her she's finished her hour and she was surprised it was over. Cassian says she could finish the lesson and stay for the second hour and he would owe her a second favor. They did some more stretching and breathing, and Nesta saw the difference and when she was doing the movements and the breathing properly at the same time. Then it was time for a cool down. When Nesta went to go lie back on the mat for her cool down, she asks Cassian if he likes flying. He does. It's the freedom and joy and challenge. So it's funny. It's like when she's relaxed, she feels very open, I guess, to conversation outside of just what are we doing next.
Right. Yeah, I think she's learning to appreciate him in this moment,
Mm-hmm.
She trained for an hour. It wasn't that bad. She gave him an hour on the house. And now she's like,
Yeah.
let's talk about, do you like flying?
Yeah. They talk about Emery, about how her wings are clipped and just like how the Illyrians are and blah, 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 everything we already know. And then they go back to their cool down. And Nesta says that the breathing makes her head stop being so horrible, awful, miserable. But she says out loud to Cassian, loud. Cassian said she did really well for her lesson and got them water, which she chugged down. And before she got up, he saw her lying there in the sun, all sweaty, and he wanted to have her in his bed. Ooh.
Ooh, okay, Cassian. Save the pumping for later.
Save the pumping for later. Cassian says to Nesta, you never said what you wanted for the second hour. And Nesta tells him that the second hour was on the house. That just reminds me of that TikTok. Is like, how much do I owe you? And he's like, oh, it's on the house. Or
it's on the house.
On the house. Charlotte loves that TikTok. Cassian thought Nesta looked more rosy in a way he hadn't seen her in a while, and her eyes brighter. And Nesta tells Cassian she needs to change before she goes to the library.
Yes, and here's my notable line for chapter 12, page 144. Cassian says to Nesta, I didn't mean what I said last night about everyone hating you. She says, it's true. He says, it's not. You're here because we don't hate you. I wanted you to know that I don't hate you. And she says, I have never hated you, Cassian.
Oh, and Cassian felt like he had been punched right in the gut from what she said and the use of his name, because she really doesn't say it at all.
I know.
And he didn't breathe until she had vanished from his sight.
Oof.
I know. Look at what just one training lesson did.
I know. Just gotta break the ice, like I said earlier.
Yep. Chapter 13, Nesta is completing her shift in the library after her actually training for once, and she is beyond sore. She did not believe that the cool down had done anything to help her body from not getting sore. Nesta was struggling to shelve books when Gwen comes across Nesta again with books for her to put away. She was looking for a specific tome called The Great War by Lavinia, Volume 7. Gwen was also shocked that Nesta wasn't putting the books away with her magic. We learned more about the demanding priestess, and Amanda gave us a very good description of Meryl, and that is who Gwen works for. And like Amanda said, she doesn't like to tell people that they're not nice, especially after everything all of them have endured down there, but Meryl is not nice.
No. Very unpleasant.
Yes. And Gwen, like we said earlier, does not like to make mistakes, and she doesn't want to fail them after they've taken her into this library.
Mm-hmm.
Gwen also informs us that none of the priestesses leave the mountain, and the only sunlight and air they get are from their windows in the dormitory, which nobody knows about, and you can't see it from the outside. Only the High Lord, Rhysand, knows about it, and now I guess Nesta.
Yep.
Gwen tells Nesta about the services they have and that she's particularly fond of the dusk service because of the music, which Nesta does seem that sounds pleasant because Nesta, as we know, really loves music.
Yeah.
When Gwen leaves Nesta, she asks the House of Wind to help her find Volume 7 that Gwen needed, and the house deposits the book on Nesta's cart. Nesta asks for help to find Meryl's office, where she brings in books telling the priestess she was here to deliver them. But really, she just wants to swap out Volume 8 for Volume 7.
Very clever.
Very clever. Nesta tells her she was told to come to this office to drop off books, but then she name drops Rosalind.
Yes, and this is my notable line for chapter 13, page 152. Nesta says, "So you didn't ask for these books, Rosalind?" Meryl says, "You think I'm Rosalind?" Nesta replies, "I was told to bring these books to Rosalind, and someone said her office was here. Rosalind is on level 4. I am on level 2. Rosalind," she muttered. "Insufferable, inane, Rosalind. Endless prattling. Never disturb me again. Get out and shut the door behind you."
It's like,
Was that unpleasant enough to be Meryl?
I loved it. It's like Meryl is literally Nesta in High Priestess form. And
Yeah.
Nesta's like, yeah, that's not gonna rub me the wrong way or do anything to me. Like, bitch, do you know who you're talking to? Do you know who
Yeah.
I am?
She's like, "I'm the original bitch."
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah. You may be older than me and been a high priestess for a long time in High Fae, but I rule this shit. I am Nesta Archeron.
Nesta bitch Archeron.
Literally. With Meryl's head back down, she quickly swaps the books, and Meryl tells her to get out, but she got away with the swap. Nesta finds Gwen and fills her in on the swap, and Gwen is grateful that she will now not be getting a tongue lashing. We get filled in on what Meryl has been researching, which Amanda went over earlier, and I just find it so interesting about the different realms, worlds, universes, how they could be living on top of each other and not even know it. But currently, like Amanda said, she's researching an extinct group of female warriors called the Valkyrie.
Mhm.
Gwen has to return to Meryl, but she thanks Nesta again and says that she is in Nesta's debt. Look at Nesta. She has a debt from Gwen. She has a bargain with Cassian. She's just like collecting things at this point. After her shift, Nesta went to her room where she ate her hot meal, took a hot bath, and went to sleep. No stairs for her tonight or bad dreams. She did feel like a certain someone, though, did peek in her room to check on her, though.
Aww.
Cassian.
Now
we are on chapter 14.
Moving right along.
Cassian was worried because Nesta hadn't arrived at training yet, and she also hadn't been at breakfast the morning either. She didn't go to dinner either, I guess. I keep saying she didn't do this, she didn't do that. But it was because she had passed out after the library, but the house had shown Cassian that she had eaten food. Cassian is starting to get pretty freaked out about the house watching them, all the dirty things that he had done in this house. He knew the house was like enchanted and brought the food and lit the fires and things like that, but I don't think he actually realized like how conscious this house is and can anticipate what you need. You can kind of talk to it to get what you want, and Cassian's like, great. Oh Oh my goodness.
The house knows all your dirty little secrets, Cassian.
Yeah. And Cassian was starting to lose hope, but then he heard Nesta climbing the steps of the training ring and she was cursing. Cassian then realized she was so sore that it would have taken her forever to climb the stairs. Nesta wants to sit, but he makes her go right into her training by doing stretches. He's like, absolutely not. You just walked up all these stairs. That was your warm up. Let's go.
Yeah.
No time
Well,
for
she's probably gonna
sitting.
lock up too if she freaking sits. She's screwed.
Yeah, no, for sure. Nesta was still hurting 2 hours later when she was lying on her mat doing a cool down. She wanted to know if she would stop feeling sore, and Cassian says never. And she's like, never!
Never.
But he does tell her that it will get better. Cassian then proceeds to stretch Nesta out. Ooh.
Okay.
But
He can stretch me out.
yeah, same. What the heck?
Same.
And he's trying to help loosen the tight muscles in her legs. Yeah, I'm sure that's what you're doing, Cassian. No, just kidding.
Right. He just wants his hands on her.
Yeah. Cassian says he still gets sore all the time, especially after a battle, which brings Nesta's thoughts back to the final battle. And Cassian can kind of tell that's where her thoughts went, and he tells Nesta that he is a soldier. It's a part of his duties and a part of who he is. He also tells her that she's nimble on her feet, and that's when Nesta tells Cassian that she took dancing lessons as a girl. So she gives him
Oh,
like a fun little tidbit.
yeah, I was gonna say she finally shares something about her to him because he's been sharing.
Yeah, so she opens up and says that she took dance lessons as a girl, and I think he makes some sort of comment about her being a princess. And Nesta says that Elaine and Feyre were her father's princesses and that she was her mother's creature, which I feel like is just very important because I don't feel like Nesta ever got that like nurturing love that Elaine and Feyre got from their father, and
Yeah.
that Nesta's mother, who she says was worse than herself, that's just how she was formed. The mother
Yeah.
literally latched herself onto Nesta and made her this like vicious
She
opportunist.
seems really cruel,
Yeah.
the mom.
Yeah, and I feel like this could go another way towards why Feyre and Nesta have this
Yeah.
animosity towards each other, because Feyre's like, well, I never got my mother's attention, and Nesta always got it. And Nesta's like, I never got to get the love that
Right.
Elaine and Feyre got, and I had to
Yeah.
become this creature that my mother created.
Yeah. They definitely were at each other's throats growing up.
And almost their parents pitting them against themselves. Well, not really the dad
Yeah.
doing it, but definitely the mom.
Yeah, the mom would be straight up honest with Nesta and be like, "You're gonna marry because you're a queen," and Elaine's gonna marry because she's beautiful. Like she doesn't even sugarcoat it. She's like, "This is what's gonna happen, like it or not,"
Yeah, and Feyre she just thought
which
was
is kind of how
odd.
Nesta is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, almost like she didn't pay attention at all to Feyre,
yeah,
which is wild because she's the one that's the most successful at this point in the story,
I
anyway.
know. Yeah.
Or even back in the cottage, she's the only one that fights for the family. So
Well, because
maybe she was a little jealous of
yeah,
her.
I mean, I think Feyre had a lot more freedom growing up to do whatever she wanted and to have passions and learn to become
Yeah,
who she was on her own. Like Feyre got a choice of who she was and who she was going to be, where I think Nesta feels like she didn't get to choose.
yeah. Her mom kind of just molded her.
Yeah. So that's why I feel like this
Yeah,
conversation with Feyre needs to happen. Like they need to just talk it out because really, I think they have a
yeah.
lot more in common than they think.
Yeah, they need a therapist to take them back to their childhoods.
Yeah. Who could be there?
Let's go back to the
Let's have
beginning.
Amryn have like be the mediator.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love to read that chapter.
Yes. Nesta wants to know what happened to the temple that Gwen was serving in when it was attacked, and Cassian fills her in on that story how Hybern had attacked that temple with the priestesses inside to get a piece of the cauldron. And Nesta is
Hmm.
happy that Gwen made it here to the night court and the library, and after that, Nesta tells Cassian that her legs are feeling better after him stretching her out.
Oh.
Cassian and Rhys are now in the spring court to have a meeting with Eris, as this was now deemed neutral territory, which is just wild. We find out that Cassian
Yeah.
has a severe pollen allergy, and Eris knows that Cassian has relayed the information Eris has provided to Rhys, and Rhys doesn't appreciate the threats. Eris wants them to act now and to take out the queen so that his father would be forced to abandon his plans. But Cassian does not like this plan, and neither does Rhys. Cassian says that if they take out
Yeah.
the queens, they would have an even bigger problem on their hands. We get info that Baron may be pushing to take over the Springcourt territory as his own, with Tamlin weak. But that would cause another Fae versus Fae conflict. And Eris says, well, there's a rumor that a beast roams these lands and isn't caring about what is happening.
Yeah.
And Cassian's like, let's just cut the shit. Tamlin hasn't come out of his beast
Yeah.
form, and he's a hot mess express getting what he deserves.
Yeah.
Ernest then tells them that he can hold his father off from allying with Briallyn for a little while, but not forever. So they need to figure out what the heck is going on, if Koshi's involved, like Amanda said earlier, and at the very least, have some proof so that they can get some allies.
Yes, and here's my notable line for chapter 14, page 165. You've turned into quite the little traitor, Rhys said. Eris replies, I told you what I wanted, High Lord. And Cassian asks, why? Eris says, for the same reason I left Morrigan untouched at the border. Cassian replies, you left her there to suffer and die. And Eris says, did I? Perhaps you should ask Morrigan whether that is true. I think she finally knows the answer. What's the answer, Megan?
I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. I need to know.
I need to know. He's not evil.
No. He's
but
ambitious.
I do feel like, yeah, he's definitely ambitious. I think, though, there might be something a little more going on with his father that he's not telling them, because he's very like, we got to do this hasty. Like, you're not even thinking that if you took out the queens, you'd have a whole other war. You're not worried about that. So what really is the threat that Baron is providing at this point in time?
Yeah.
There must be something more.
Yeah, there has to be, because he is like very acting with haste instead of caution.
Yeah. Exactly.
At the end of this interaction, Rhys is also acting distant and distracted, but when Cassian asks him about what is wrong, he says nothing. I don't know about that.
That always means something.
Yeah. Back at the House of Wind, Nesta attempted the stairs again, but only made it to stair 150 before her legs almost gave out. She's so sore, and she's like, let me try these stairs again. Nesta had
her own training.
Yeah, it's her own little pet project on the side.
Yeah.
Nesta had been bummed when she hadn't seen Gwen in the library, and Nesta had dinner at her desk and another romance book, and Nesta said she didn't know the house had such dirty taste. And when she says that, the house starts her a nice bubble bath for Nesta, and Nesta tells the house that the house is her only friend. The house was so happy with her that it gave her a piece of chocolate cake.
Aww.
I know.
The house probably learned all its dirtiness from Cassian.
Yeah, it's like
whatever the fuck he was doing in there.
Yeah, I was like, what are those moves? I need to learn about this.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so funny. All right, now to the longest chapter. I don't even know if it's the longest chapter. I just keep saying it's the longest chapter because it's like the bane of my existence when I was doing notes on this.
Yeah, it took forever.
For some reason, I really don't know why, but here we go. Chapter 15. Nesta was working in the library and she was staring down into level 7 from level 6. This is when Nesta said that the darkness seemed to rise and fall like it was breathing. Nesta felt like it might stare back, but she couldn't move from the railing. She heard her name being called, and it felt like the darkness was beckoning. But she hears her name again, and this time it was Gwen, and Gwen wants to know what Nesta saw. So Gwen did not seem surprised that Nesta was reacting to something down in the dark. So Nesta's like, have you seen things in the dark? And she's like, I haven't, but I know that some of the others do, which is very interesting.
Interesting.
Nesta said that what she saw was darkness, pure darkness, like she hadn't seen since the cauldron. Gwen suggests that they go higher and also tells Nesta not to look back. Nesta wants to know if it's following, but Gwen said no, but she could feel something like a cat, small and clever and curious, and it's watching. Gwen took out her blue stone and told Nesta to just keep going, and we learned that the stone is used for healing and protection, like Amanda went over earlier again. Gwen said that maybe a piece of Braxis still lingered down there or altered the dark itself, but Nesta said that the darkness felt older. So older than Braxis. Gwen knows a little bit about Nesta, the general facts, but Nesta informs her that she was made by the cauldron along with her sister Elaine. And Gwen says,
Wait. Sorry. I just had a thought in my brain.
okay.
Is the darkness one of these first gods?
Hmm.
Because Cassian does say later, which I'm sure we'll get into, but I did cover this in world building already, that they weren't physical and they were really, really, really smart.
Yeah, could be.
Okay.
Okay.
More to think about.
Gwen says like calls to like and tells her that maybe Nesta shouldn't go past level 6 anymore. And Gwen does not want to know what's going to come crawling out of the darkness if Nesta fears it, if it's drawn to Nesta. Nesta says she isn't a warrior and only killed the King of Highburn with luck and rage. During this conversation, a priestess named Riven went by them. She hadn't spoken about what happened to her in 80 years, and though they had resources to utilize if they wanted to talk, they could, but I don't think Riven has used it, but we do think that Gwen has. Nesta tells Gwen that her leg is hurting her because she's been training with Cassian to curb her behavior, that the breathing and stretching can be painful if you're out of shape. Gwen is literally does not care about calling Nesta out. She's like, why do you keep rubbing your leg?
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with you? Like, what is happening?
She's probably so observant. If you just think about being stuck in a building for literally decades,
Yeah.
all you have is your observations.
Yeah.
Anything new or anything weird, I can see her just calling it out right away.
Yeah. She's like, that's weird. What's wrong? Who are you?
Yeah.
Gwen has to go back to work, but Nesta wants to know why she doesn't wear the stone on her head, and she says because she doesn't deserve to. Nesta is back at training again and wants to know if it'll all just be stretching and balance, and Cassian says it will be until she learns to balance because hers is awful. Cassian starts the story of what happened to his mother and that he bothers with the Illyrians because he fought like hell to prove himself to them. And I'm not going to go into the story again because we've already kind of covered it a couple times in the last book and then just earlier with Amanda. When he realizes, though, what he's talking about and whom he is talking about this story to, he says that this is a story for another time and that the breathing and the training will help Nesta. And it weighed on her, though, that he was waiting for her to snap at him and be defensive. And so instead, she says to him, show me another set of movements, which I think she's trying to show Cassian that she's not going to keep barking at him if he shares something personal with her. And she doesn't like to see him get so defensive and put up his walls around her.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a tough subject for him, especially his mom, it's very sensitive. So
yeah,
he can't take even a joke about it.
No. So I'm glad that Nesta realized that and just said, okay, well, show me more movements then.
Yeah.
Nesta, after training, and I think for the night, notices that the house has a taste for romance novels and has read them as it continues to drop more books into her room. The house is also making her eat dinner with Cassian tonight. I love how the house tells her when and when she cannot eat in her room.
Yeah. She's like, you bonded today? Go bond some more.
Yeah.
It's like playing Cupid.
Yeah. Nesta thinks that the house is a busybody, just like everybody else. Cassian asks about the library during dinner, and she says that nothing tried to eat her today, so it was good. And Cassian's like, has something tried to eat you in the library before today? And she tells him that it didn't get close enough to try, but that was the general impression she got. And he's like, what the fuck? So nonchalant about it. I think something was trying to eat me earlier, but it's totally fine because it didn't get close enough.
Yeah. He's like, why didn't you tell me this earlier? Why are you just telling me now at dinner?
Yeah, he wants details right now.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when Cassian tells her about the monsters he's locked up in the prison. And I think Amanda gave us a great description earlier about
Thank you.
all
Thank you.
his heroic tales of saving the day and locking up these bad, bad monsters in the prison.
Yes.
Cassian wants to know if the darkness in the library reacted to her specifically because of her powers. And Nesta's like, I don't know what you're talking about because I don't have any powers.
Yeah.
And Cassian's like, oh, really? So who left the handprint in the stairwell? And she's like, I don't know, Lucian? Yeah. But Nesta wants to know if it matters if she has powers, which he tells her that she is pure fairy for asking questions for a question that she was asked. Cassian says that Nesta's power needs training and an outlet. And Nesta wants to know why so many questions. And Cassian's like, literally, we're having an actual conversation like normal people for once. Can we just keep that going? Keep that flow going? No? Okay, good. Let's fight. And then ensues another argument.
Yep.
Cassian tells Nesta it never mattered to him if she took half the cauldron's power or just a drop. And Nesta doesn't understand why he even bothers, and he throws back at her, why did you stay with me during that final battle with the King of Highburn? Nesta's like, because I was a stupid fool. No, maybe stupid in love, fool, but you're not a stupid
Yeah.
fool. Cassian wants to know what Nesta is afraid of, and when he calls her a liar, he tells her her eyes light up like molten steel, like silver fire.
And here's my notable line for chapter 15, page 182. Nesta couldn't move as Cassian leaned to whisper in her ear. The first time I saw that look on your face, you were still human. Still human, and I nearly went to my knees before you. Your power is a song, and one I've waited a very, very long time to hear, Nesta.
Oh. That just makes me feel like he already knows.
Yeah.
I think so, right?
I think so. Did it happen? We're talking about the bond here, people.
Yeah, the main
Did it
bond.
happen when she protected him from Highburn?
Maybe.
Hmm.
But like she was
You could have
always like
said that.
weirdly protective of him even before that. They've always had this like
Do you think it happened at the
strange.
same time as Lucian and Elaine?
Maybe because he was like crawling towards her even after she went into the cauldron.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think he's very well aware of it. And I think she is too. I just don't think she is willing to admit to it. And so he's not going to say anything until she does.
Really? You think she knows?
I think so. I think she's in
Interesting.
full on denial, but I think she knows.
Yeah.
Deep,
Because
deep
Feyre
down.
was totally clueless of it. So how
Yeah.
would she know? You think she can feel it?
I don't know. I just feel like Nesta knows everything. So I just feel like she
True.
knows.
Yeah,
maybe
that's true.
maybe she doesn't. I honestly don't remember, but it just seems like him saying that, like, your power is a song I've waited a very, very long time to hear, Nesta, just makes me feel like he fully is aware because we know how he
Yeah.
feels about mates and his like almost jealousy over what like Reese and Feyre have, and then the jealousy would make a little bit more sense too because he's like, why can't we just get along?
Yeah.
Not that Feyre and Reese got along, but they definitely were more like banter bickering than like actual bickering.
Right, yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I don't know. But he breathes in her scent and she doesn't push him away. Like she lets him do it.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
Cassian tells her that he's going to think of the look on her face tonight. He is always thinking about that look on her face. And Nesta is unable to sleep after that and has to do some things to make her sleepy.
But she ain't dumb. She tells the house to go somewhere else for a minute.
Yeah, she knows the house will be watching. She's like, come back in the morning.
Yeah.
Chapter 16. Cassian also had a terrible night sleeping and also had to ... to get some tension released.
Pump it up. Pump it up.
Cassian and Nesta have an awkward interaction at breakfast.
Oh,
And
you mean because they were just touching themselves,
yeah,
thinking about each other?
yeah. And they both totally know that that's what the other was doing that night.
Yep.
Nesta tries to tell Cassian about her book, but she can't. She's like, my book was about a book. And he's like, sounds great. Sounds like a great book.
Yeah.
Cassian has to leave the room, though, due to his large problem in his pants.
His pitched tent.
Yes. Even after all those times he went already, just the thought of Nesta touching herself last night, he was like, I am done for.
Yeah.
Nesta arrives to training feeling silly about her comment about her book, but Cassian says that today they will be doing some core work, which makes Nesta think very smutty things, and Cassian tells her she has a dirty mind.
Well, we know that.
Yes, obviously.
She reads smut.
Yeah, she's constantly thinking about sex, Cassian.
Yeah.
Cassian says no one could look like him when it comes to his ab muscles, and Nesta says, well, as and Reese do. And he's like, no, I definitely have one or two more muscles than they do. You just might not be able to see them. And Nesta does the last thing Cassian ever thought Nesta would do, which was smile and huff out a laugh. And he almost passes out from shock. He's like, who are you? And what have you done with Nesta?
Literally.
Nesta does not like ab workouts. I mean, neither do I. She could
Yeah.
not plank for more than 5 seconds, which, same. And she thinks that ab exercises are torture. Also, same. Cassian shows her what his workout routine looks like, though I don't know why she wasn't paying attention because the first couple days of training, she just sat there watching him.
No shit.
So
Although, no offense, but if he was working out in front of me, I'd make him do it all over again too.
that is true. I'm like, I think I missed a part. Can you do that again?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you show me that move again? Where,
Yeah. Yeah.
you get all
Just
sweaty?
just tip my head, look at different directions.
Yeah.
Nesta thinks that people will talk about Cassian and their histories. People would want to be him. He was a warrior, and she had called him a brute in the past. But to change the subject, she brings up how there are no Illyrian female warriors. And Cassian tells her that it's an ongoing goal for him and Reese. And this is when we learn more about the blood right. And Amanda did a
Yes.
fantastic job going over that earlier.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Here is my notable line for chapter 16, page 192. Cassian tells Nesta, he's talking about the blood raid that he participated in with Reese and Az, and says, the leaders feared us and what we'd become. They thought the warriors or beasts would handle us if we didn't have each other to lean against. They were wrong. What they learned was that we loved each other as true brothers, and there was nothing that they wouldn't do, no one they wouldn't kill to reach each other, to save each other. They killed their way across the mountains and made it through the breaking, the worst of Ramiel's 3 routes to the top, and we won the damn thing. We touched the stone in the same moment, the same breath, and entered the Carnthian tier of warriors.
Woo! They did it!
They tried to separate them and it still didn't work.
You can't separate these brothers.
Nope. That boy's for life.
Yeah! Cassian says that training the females is more about proving that they are equal and capable and strong and mastering their fear of becoming a female like his mother. And Nesta wants to know then, after this conversation, if Cassian would train non Illyrian females. And he's like, well, I'm training you, aren't I? And Nesta says if she invited the priestesses in the library to train, would he help them? And Cassian's like, yes, of course I would, but a lot of them don't like to be around men. And Nesta says one of his female friends can help. And when he suggests Feyre, she shoots that down. Nesta knows that Cassian would never hurt them, but it's about their trauma and digging up old memories that Cassian's concerned about. And when it comes to Feyre, she didn't know how to explain the mess between them and the self-loathing she feels when she looks at Feyre. So I feel like obviously this all comes back to the mother, and I think that we did a nice little recap of what we think about that. And I think just her saying this confirms to me that it all just comes back to that.
Yeah, for sure.
Cassian says that it's fine, that they don't need to ask Feyre, but they do need to tell Reese and Feyre, and she would need to get Clotho's permission. But But Cassian says that he likes this idea a lot, and those words meant everything to her.
Yeah, they think alike.
Yeah.
Aw.
Chapter 17, baby. Nesta approaches Clotho and says that she has a proposition for her. Nesta wants to get permission to ask the priestesses to join in her training. Nesta says that Cassian will be running the training, that Cassian is respectful. Clotho says that Nesta has her blessing and whoever wishes to join can, but she is afraid that not many will sign up. Nesta was disappointed when she checked the sign up sheet after her shift and the next morning and it was still empty. And Cassian tells Nesta that it will take time, but to keep reaching out her hand, which full circle, like we said earlier, it's so funny to see
Yep.
him give the same advice that he had been given about Nesta.
Yeah.
Cass,
Well, it proves that it works.
it's true. It really does.
He proved that it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cassian starts teaching Nesta some basic footwork and body positioning for hand-to-hand combat. So she has leveled up in her training. It's not all about
Yay.
breathing and stretching and balance anymore. She's starting to learn some maneuvers. She also started holding her planks longer. Cassian started to add weights when she was doing her lunges, and she was making it further on her conquest of the stairs and made it to step 750 in this chapter.
That is a big step up.
It really is, like
From 66.
From 66 or even like 150 or whatever. She's now at 750.
Yeah.
Nesta gives the house a present, which was a romance book that Elaine had given to her, and the house gave her a bouquet of flowers in return. Nesta hadn't seen Gwen in a week, just an update on little Gwenny, and Nesta, while doing her library work, had also started training there and doing lunges while holding her books. So this girl is like getting fit.
Yeah.
Nesta kept remembering that she should keep reaching out her hand, but she wondered if no one bothered to reach back, if it would even matter. And I think
It
Cassian had the same thought in his head after that big blowout with
did.
Nesta, but he just kept reaching and she took it.
Yep.
Now at training, Cassian is now showing Nesta at training how to throw a proper punch. And we have a lot of banter about this. It was literally like a page and a half on how to throw a punch. And I just really don't want to go over it because it's silly. The only thing that I want to worth noting in all of that is Nesta is wondering if the training, the stairs, the work would even help her, since when she wasn't busy doing something, that the thoughts would start to creep back in.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to keep doing it. You got to keep going.
Yeah. She's going to get mentally stronger as well as physically stronger. And I don't think she realizes that yet, but she will.
She will. But to throw the balance off again, Elaine has arrived at the House of Wind, and Nesta knew Elaine was in the private library before she even saw her. She could smell her scent, which smelled like the promise of spring.
Interessante. God fucking damn it.
Oh, just so many thoughts. But you know our thoughts. You know our thoughts on this.
I know.
Elaine wanted to see how Nesta was holding up and tells her that she looked better than she did a few weeks ago. The last time Nesta had seen Elaine, she had ignored her in the marketplace. Elaine asks questions like, "Are you enjoying your time up here?" Literally, yikes. Yikes. I said it out loud too under reading. I'm like, this is not good.
Yep. No. Wrong question to ask.
Yeah. We have another flashback with their mother, which I believe Amanda went over a little bit ago when we were talking about the mom, how like Elaine was, this beauty and she would marry for that, but Nesta would need to marry for, to further their power and conquest.
Yeah.
Nesta tells Elaine, well, I don't have any choice to be up here, so, like, I don't really know what you want me to say. And Elaine tells Nesta she doesn't need to be so miserable about it. Dude!
Oh my god.
And that is when Nesta loses it on Elaine. She's like, I sat by your side for weeks while you wasted away, refusing to eat or drink. I sat by your side for weeks, and you want to come up here after, I don't know, like a week or whatever and say, oh, I don't have to be so miserable about being up here?
Yeah.
I get it. I get the anger. Where I don't...
No, same. I think it's very warranted.
Yeah. And I get we'll just excuse him. Oh, it's Elaine. She doesn't get it. She's just like, la, la, la. But still, if we're going to hold Feyre accountable for her actions, we're going to hold Nesta accountable for her actions. We also have to hold Elaine accountable for the things that she says.
Yes.
And Elaine's like, well, I wasn't drinking myself away and doing other things. And Nessa's like, fucking strangers. She's like, don't act like such a prude. You lost your virginity to Grayson before your wedding. So she basically throws that comment in Elaine's face about, she's like, you're not a fucking saint. You had sex before marriage too. And Elaine's like, are you mad at me? She's like, yeah, I am mad at you because you packed up my things while Feyre and Rhys told me I was a worthless pile of shit. Which, true or not true, in Nessa's head, is what happened. So she's not happy with Elaine.
Yeah.
Which Elaine's response to this is, Feyre told me this might happen, which was another slap in the face to Nesta. Yeah. And let's just keep adding on. So then Elaine brings up their father. Not good.
Not good.
And then Nesta needs Elaine gone. She's like, I need you gone. So Nesta lies and blames Elaine for their father's death, which this is where I start not to agree with Nesta. I don't like this tit for tat nonsense we have going on. You're better than that, Nesta. Just like Cassian, I said the same thing when he was fighting with Nesta. You're better than that. Yeah. Enough.
Yeah.
Nesta lets her powers be seen, and Elaine says she thought Cassian said that the training was helping.
Bitch.
It is helping. You said really awful things to her and she's just reacting. She's not ready to see you.
Yeah.
Elaine bursts into the dining room where Cassie and Rhys had just arrived back from Windhaven, and Elaine said she wanted to go home, and she tells them Nesta isn't better and she isn't even trying.
I roll at Elaine.
Yeah.
Not like Elaine said anything helpful to her to even see the progress, but sure.
The only thing she said that was helpful.
Whatever you think, Elaine.
Yeah, the only thing she said that was helpful was, oh, you're looking better. So, like, that's where the conversation starts. And when Elaine didn't like Nesta's response to, are you enjoying yourself up here? That's when she's like, you don't need to be so miserable, and just brings this negative interaction into their conversation, when before that comment, it wasn't hostile at all.
No, I mean, could you imagine if Nesta went up to her when she was mourning, basically, her relationship with Grayson and was like, are you enjoying your time here in Valaris?
Yeah.
She would have been pissed.
Yeah, that's why she's like, I sat by your side for weeks. And Elaine's, well, at least I wasn't drinking myself away and fucking everybody. No, you were starving yourself to death and talking to the walls. Like, what? You're not better than Nesta because Nesta coped in a different way than you coped.
Exactly. Yeah. And here's my notable line for chapter 17, page 208. Rhys says to Cassian through their little mind bond talk, Feyre warned her, and Cassian replies, Nesta is making progress. I know she is. Something set her off. It'll take time. Maybe no more visits from her sisters for the time being. At least not without her permission. If Elaine wants to see her again, let me ask Nesta first. Which should have been what happened this time, but...
Yeah, it's true, though, when you think about it, like, everyone can do whatever they want, and then just expect Nesta to just deal with it, and...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They obviously have their shit to work
Be the bigger person, almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Rhys gets all up in arms, like his power's rising, and Cassian finally sticks up to Rhys for Nesta, which we haven't seen. And Cassian says to Rhys, calm down. They have their own shit to work through. Like, this has nothing to do with us. All we can do is, like, respect the boundaries that have been set. And when they are ready to work things out, we can be supportive, but we are not in charge of this.
Yeah. It goes way back before Fae days.
Yeah.
Their drama.
It's a long history. But
yeah,
Cassian immediately goes down to Nesta and is like, what the fuck happened? And it's like, dude, again, the approach. I don't understand. I get he's frustrated because he's like, I just was talking you up. I'm telling them that you're training. I'm telling them that you're interacting a little bit better. And then you go and pull this shit. And so, of course, Nesta's like, you assume I'm the one that's at fault. And always defending sweet little Elaine.
I feel like if he started with, I just offended you and I know you're making progress, so tell me what happened, it would have been a way different conversation.
1,000%. 1,000%. 1,000%.
Yeah.
I mean, she might have still gotten a little prickly, but I don't think we would have seen this storm
No.
that's brewing.
Yeah, definitely.
Cassian, though, was like, you always used to defend sweet little Elaine. And Nesta just doesn't want to hear it. Cassian's like, wow, it's super cold in here. So he asks the house to light a fire. And Nesta freaks out and says, no fire. But the house won't listen to her. And Cassian's like, oh, this is very interesting because she also kind of had this reaction with the fire at the house at the Windhaven camp, how she was just kind of staring
Yeah.
into the fireplace. Nesta leaves the room and Cassian
Mhm.
follows her. And Nesta wants him to leave her alone. And Cassian said, are you just going to lash out at everyone who loves you until there's no one left? Which is like literally almost the same comment of everyone hates you. I just don't
Yeah.
think that they know how to talk to anybody. No one knows how to solve problems.
No.
Nesta looks like she might say something to him, but she doesn't. Cassian looks at her and he says that her eyes look dead. She just had it. She's like, you don't understand
Yeah.
me.
Fed up.
I cannot articulate to you what I'm feeling or what I need. And you just don't understand. So I'm just done.
Yeah, she needs a break.
Yeah, she was just minding her own business up at the House of Wind, doing her library, doing her training, and then Elaine has to come up and fuck everything up.
Literally. Fucking Elaine.
Ugh. Even Feyre knew to stay away when she went up there and she just talked to Cassian. I don't know why they think, oh, Nesta had what, 2 or 3 days of, or maybe a week of good training. And you think, oh, yeah, it's been a week. Let me go up there and talk to her now. No, just because she's
Yeah.
trained like a handful of
No.
times doesn't mean she's ready to face her mistakes, what she's done wrong to them, the trauma that was done to her. She's not ready to face it all yet. She just barely knows how to balance her body.
Exactly. Yeah.
Chapter 18.
Yeah.
Nesta began her climb down the steps to try and clear her mind and think of anything else except the last conversation she'd had and the awful thoughts in her head. She made it to step 1,000 before she stopped. She had to stop 5 times on her way back up, but when she finally reached the top, Cassian was still waiting for her. And Nesta tells Cassian that she doesn't feel like sparring with him right now. And of course, he doesn't listen. He says
No.
that making it to step 1,000 was impressive, and he actually meant it. He wasn't being sarcastic. Cassian wanted to know what
Yeah.
set her off today and what Elaine said to her. And I feel like this is how he should have opened the conversation, like you said earlier.
Exactly.
What set you off?
Yeah.
What happened? Not, what the fuck do you do? Like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Nesta, though, still doesn't want to talk about it and changes the subject to the priestesses and how none of them had signed up to train. And Cassian is like, is that what you're so upset about? But Nesta says that some
Yeah.
of them have been here for hundreds of years and still haven't come back from what they endured. So what hope does she have? So I think by saying this, I hope Cassian understands that she is her worst critic. She hates herself. She doesn't hate anybody else.
Right.
And so Cassian then proceeds to tell Nesta about what he did to the people of his old village when he found out about his mom and how he basically just slaughtered them all. And it took Cassian 10 years to face what he did. So if she wanted to take 10, 20 years, she could. Cassian says that whatever Nesta needs to throw at him, he can take it and he won't break. And Nesta says that Cassian doesn't understand, that she isn't like him and the others. Which Cassian replies that it's never bothered him before that she was different, but she feels like it should make a difference to him.
Mm-hmm.
Nesta brings up Reese, which Cassian gets pissed about when she uses a tone again about her speaking about her oh so special Reese and Nesta wants Cassian to let her pass.
Yes, and here's my notable line for chapter 18, page 215. Nesta says to Cassian, let go. And he says, make me. Use that training and make me. She says, you're an arrogant bastard. He says, and you're a haughty witch. We're evenly matched. She snarled, let go.
They're evenly matched.
Oh, clever wording there, Sarah.
And Cassian thinks he's won when he's smirking at her. So to shut him right up, she gives him a big kiss on the mouth. And that is how we end this set of chapters.
And that is how Megan tortures us every week.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I can't believe we finally got a kiss, though. I'm so excited.
I know, like a real kiss, not a when they're
or a
about to
lick
die.
of the throat, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Whatever the other thing was.
He nuzzled her throat.
Yeah, wild set of chapters. But lots of progress.
Yes.
Lots of back steps, but also more progress, I feel.
Yeah, there was definitely more forward steps than back, I would think, in this set of chapters.
Yeah, I agree. I actually do have a couple predictions this time.
Okay.
Very simple, easy, quick ones. I think number one, Gwen will be one of the priestesses that trains with Nesta eventually. I feel like there's a reason why we're learning about this bond.
Yeah.
And maybe her training gets more people to sign up. I don't know. But I think she will be the first one.
Yeah.
And two, I think Nesta eventually will make it down the 10,000 stairs. I also did some research on how long 10,000 stairs is.
Yeah.
It's 4 to 5 miles.
Holy shit.
Could you picture going up and down stairs for 5 fucking miles?
No.
And then you have to go all the way back up once you go down.
No, absolutely not. No.
Crazy. I'm like, I gotta get on the Stairmaster, see how long I can do this for.
Yeah. There was a challenge that I think people were doing where they were trying to do the Nesta 10,000 steps challenge on the Stairmaster.
Should we do it? I want to do it.
Yeah, but I don't have a Stairmaster or a gym membership.
Well, we gotta get one.
Yeah.
I did used to do, when I was actually in shape, I used to do 100 floors in 30 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
I was real in shape back then. But I don't know how many stairs that is per floor. I don't know.
I don't know, but that's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe I'll do that one day. We'll see. I'll let you guys know my progress.
Yeah.
But that's all we have for you today. I'm so excited to keep reading about Cassian and Nesta and see where this relationship goes after this big smoochy smooch.
Yep.
Please let us know what you think by leaving us a review and comments on any of the platforms you are listening/watching on or on our social media pages. This helps tremendously to get the word out and lead more listeners to find our show and tune in.
Yes, don't forget to email, follow, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and tell all your friends about us. And we hope the rest of your day is blissful. Bye!
Thank you so much for listening. Join us next week where we start part 3 of A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas, covering chapters 19 through 30. Happy reading!